Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss and Kristin West, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to What Women Want Talk Radio. Thank you for joining us for our show tonight, Women Beyond. I'm here with my co-host, Kristin West.
Hello.
On the eve of International Women's Day, which is tomorrow. And you know what? I hear that there's going to be Barbie dolls representing history-making women, including Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. You know, they should really consider making 2 more Barbie dolls of our guests this evening. Kelly McNelis, the founder of the global inspirational website that's chock full of Truthtellers, as Kelly calls them, from over 50 countries, and Yi Zhou, the tenacious Chinese entrepreneur who's also changing lives globally with her combination of art and intellect. The conversation is about soulful action and women who are leading the way creatively, conceptually, and literally with their stories. No wonder I named the show Women Beyond, because what you will hear this evening is truly beyond aspirational. Now, What Women Want, speaking of aspirational, has reached over 1 million downloads. I'm so proud of this one since we first hit the airwaves. And between latalkradio.com's archives, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and we're, of course, all over social media, you can find us everywhere. So we're booking sponsors for our show for the next few months. Grab your spot now, because we're filling up. And when I get the next report, the rates will go up. So email us for a complete deck through our website, whatwomenwantradio.com. We do have the most amazing guests, from celebrities in the entertainment and fashion worlds to world-class experts, doctors, lawyers. We cover it all with our relevant lifestyle topics that make you think. Conversation that feeds your mind and energizes your spirit. Women Beyond. I picked this name because Kelly and E are pushing the boundaries beyond in each of their lives, in their careers, their family lives, philanthropy, art. Kristin, who's one of your female role models right now?
I'm so loving Frances McDormand right now because of the diversity writer topic that she brought up. Because as women, we have to uplift each other. And her making that statement on such a big world stage like the Oscars, I already had tremendous respect for her as an actor. You know, she's won the what they call the triple crown of acting, an Oscar, a Tony, and an Emmy Award. But for her to really take that stage and try to uplift all of us is amazing. And I'm still, my heart's still aflutter because of that moment at the Oscars.
It is amazing. And, you know, nowadays the celebrities are really taking their stardom to another level and really teaching us a lot about who we can be and you know, how they came to be. And for me, one of my role models, believe it or not, is Maggie Nichols. Now, she was the first gymnast to come forward with her story about being sexually harassed. And for me, the courage that she showed to come out with that story and the age, you know, it's so tender, and that she had the just wisdom to think, if I say my story, then others will too. And I just think that's so admirable. And we have so much to learn from younger people, don't you think?
It's true. I think we do have a generation of millennials and the generation coming behind them that are really taking the bull by the horns and being activists and being engaged in ways that are new and exciting and completely relevant. And I'm so excited to see them exercising their free speech and their freedom of assembly. I think we as citizens don't do it enough.
Well, that's for sure. And talk about free speech. Kelly McNelis is going to come on and talk about her Truthtellers, as she calls them, on her website. So I'm excited to hear about that. But first, my background comes from high fashion modeling with Ford New York. And after that, I was a magazine editor that then led me to hosting and reporting for Better TV, City Buzz, and a few other shows recently. And now I'm a regular contributor on NBC and Fox. I'm actually going to be in NBC Connecticut on Friday. And I founded the company What Women Want Networking 7 years ago. We're nationwide with several regional chapters, and we're hosting our second national conference, annual conference in October 19th through 21st. So save the date, everyone listening out there. It's an incredible time. And I'm also St. Martin's Press author and the mom of teenage twin girls, which is exhausting enough. What about you, Kristin? Tell us what's going on in the latest in Hollywood. I know you have some movies coming out and you're working on all kinds of stuff.
Well, I'm a hot, messy, brilliant mess. So having Kelly McNelis on this evening is entirely appropriate. I'm hosting Horror Talk with Kristin West this weekend. We have some great guests lined up for Domain of Horror, including Tony Moran and James Balsamo. James, of course...
What do you do on there? What's Domain of Horror?
Domain of Horror is one of the preeminent horror fan sites in the world. And if you are a horror fan, if you like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if you like the newer movies like The Lich, it's where you go to get the inside track about horror movies. So I'm really blessed to be an ambassador for Domain of Horror. And I do interviews with horror stars and get to know more about them beyond their roles in the movies. Patrick Barnett, who's the star of the Coffin franchise, is actually a world-class crooner. He sounds as velvety as Frank Sinatra. So I'm going to get to interview him and a few other horror stars this weekend, and it's going to be great. And one of those, of course, is James Balsamo, the director of The Lich, which I played his wife in The Lich, and that's in post-production. And I'm so excited to have all of that going on, and of course, just being on the show here with you.
Well, thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show with me. And also, it's an honor to have Kelly McNelis back again tonight. She is the best-selling author of Your Messy Brilliance, 7 Tools for the Perfectly Imperfect Woman. She's also the founder of the global community Women for One, which serves thousands of women in more than 50 countries by providing them with a forum to share their stories and wisdom, and giving them resources that empower them to make life happen on their own terms. Welcome back to the show, Kelly.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Judy.
Oh, we're so excited to have you, and congratulations on your book. I told you it was going to be a bestseller if you were on the show before it released.
Yeah. Remember? And then you sat with me and introduced me on the Barnes & Noble stage in New York City and Manhattan. Like, dream come true for me. Thank you so much. I'm forever grateful.
Oh my gosh, I'm forever grateful because I was so honored to be there and be asking you the questions that, led up to the writing of this book. So it was really a magical time. And thank you also for your support of being a sponsor at the national conference and, all you've done throughout the years for me, but also for women all over the world. I just can't get over sometimes your story on how you plowed through adversities and really made it to the other side. But you didn't stop there. You came back and you started teaching women about what you went through so they could learn. And that's really the foundation of this show and my company, is really learning from women and what they went through.
Yes. And it's all about that sisterhood, right? I mean, it really is about connecting and feeling supported by our community and by the women that we feel safe with and that we can trust to hold our deepest stories and our sometimes our deepest secrets and shame and also celebrate with us. It's everything, Judy. And that's why I love you and what you're doing, you and Kristin, because you're highlighting incredible things women are doing. And it's just such a great day tomorrow. I'm so excited about tomorrow.
Oh, I am too. And the vibes are already so high. And you're the perfect person to have on the eve of International Women's Day, just because of all you're doing, with your company and who you are. And, I'd like to start from the beginning with your story. Kristin and I have heard it, and I'm sure some of our listeners have also. But I don't think it can be told enough. And especially with the Me Too movement going on and all the women's stories that are coming out, I don't have words for how courageous and how, admirable these women are for coming out. I'm part of that Me Too movement. I haven't told my story publicly. I did get attacked by a celebrity, and it's just, such a touchy subject. But when you go through it yourself and you get to the other side like you did, I mean, yours is just incredible.
Right. Yeah. And I'm happy to share my story, but I do want to say I love what you said about Maggie. You know, I was a gymnast my whole life, and my daughter's a gymnast. So I am just so inspired by these younger women that are like, no more. And really
it's just amazing.
stepping into their power. Because it took so much courage for me. I mean, I repressed my sexual abuse. I was sexually abused by my father when I was 4, and I repressed the memory until I was in my 30s. And I think a lot of women do that. A lot of young girls, you know, to survive, get rid of those memories and then get very confused about where they are in their lives. So, you know,
so you didn't remember it for a long time?
Nope.
You didn't even know you were repressing it.
I was confused about why I had so many issues with men and felt scared in certain times. So I really went in a deep dive to having memories start flashing back to me through, you know, being hypnotized and doing deep therapy, and had a lot of memories come back in my early 30s that I had to deal with. And I'm not alone. You know, Gloria Loring, this famous, you know, soap opera actor who now speaks for the National Women's Coalition Against Violence and Exploitation, talks about that. She's an Oscar winner, and she was sexually abused as well and repressed the memory. That happens a lot, Judy. So when women are like, gosh, you know, something happened, but I don't know. You know, I want to encourage women not to push that aside, really honor your intuition and how you feel when you start getting an inkling of something coming back to you about something happening, because it really does change your life when you start remembering and when you start really taking the pieces of that story back. And that's really what Women for One is about, is sharing your story so you can really move into your power.
Well, tell us how that works. So you have people from around the world logging in and writing whatever they want to write about?
Yes, we have all different stories, and not just about sexual abuse, harassment. We have stories of celebration. We have stories of, you know, grief, where you've lost a relationship, you've lost a dear parent, raising your child, health, nutrition. I mean, everything. Because, you know, when I started Women for One, I really wanted women to be able to have their voice heard and share any kind of experience that they gain wisdom from, so that they could take back their power and share it and feel more connected and less alone in the world. Because we're all, you know, all of us women are trying to be the best mom or the best employee or the best wife we can, and it's challenging sometimes. So we need that community to support one another, and the way we can do that is to be more transparent and share our experiences.
Do you find more of the stories are about negative trauma than positive stories?
I would say right now, I wouldn't call it negative. I would call it, now women are diving a little more deep. I think they're really going for it now because they've been given the permission by all the other women. I really was honored. Women for One sponsored Wisdom 2.0, where it brings business and women and consciousness together in San Francisco a couple weeks ago. And I got to listen to Tarana Burke speak, who is the founder of the Me Too movement. And she talked about how she started this and how, you know, it was just a tool she used for young African-American women to be able to say, just me too. They were scared to say anything else. So she's been using that tool for years. So now that we have that out there, we have given ourselves permission to really go for it. And it's, you know, I'm not a big political person, but it's very exciting, Judy, to see all these women doing that now. You know,
it really is.
Cool.
I mean, it's, you know, we always heard about the year of the woman and it's time for the women and this and that, but I really do feel like it's come full circle and that we really have arrived at that time where we're all helping each other and we're listening to our voices for each other. And it's just amazing to be heard in that way. Now, your book, Your Messy Brilliance, I love this title. And, you know, I've read it. I love the whole book.
Yeah.
7 Tools for the Perfectly Imperfect Woman. Okay, so beyond women. Women beyond. I feel like you're doing so much. You're an author. You're a teacher. You have workshops that you teach to get through your messy brilliance. You're a speaker.
Right.
You're an entrepreneur. You're a mom of 80 million kids. I just don't understand. You're having a even in a few minutes when you get off the air, you're having a nonprofit event or something at your house with 1 million women. How do you keep it all in check?
How do I keep it? I go away on a retreat with my friends as much as possible, and I schedule lots of them. I'm all about the women, right? I just got back from a retreat with a dear friend for a couple of days where I recharged. And I really feel like you can get the energy from good things you do. Like my best friend has a Down syndrome foundation and in North Carolina called Anna's Angels. And I wanted to do something for it. And I thought, why don't I throw a fundraiser out here? And there's all these women coming to just be together, purchase some things, and really go for it and support one of my dear friends who has this incredible foundation that's helping the world. So I think that's what women do for each other. You do it too, Judy. I mean, Kristin does it. We all support one another, and I think I get energy from that support, if that makes sense.
Well, totally makes sense. I mean, we're a community, and Kristin and I had an interview the other day. I believe it was the interview that we were together on. Kristin, wasn't it you? Wasn't it with you? We were talking with Reverend Patricia about how important the community is and reaching out and connecting with other women for that support.
Yes, it was. We had a really great conversation with Reverend Patricia Coganello about that very subject, and how as women we have to share and we have to support each other. And so, Kelly, you're just right on about that, is that we have to really take the time to uplift each other. And I think what you're doing is great. I wanted to ask you, because you've talked to some amazing people, and you have amazing people contributing to your website, Women for One, including Arianna Huffington, Marianne Williams, Heather Ashamera, and Ram Dass, and just so many more. I mean, this is just a sampling, folks. I mean, this is a battalion of wonderful people. Is there something that great truth tellers have in common?
That's a great question. And that's why I love you, Kristin. That's such a great question. I think all of the incredibly powerful men and women that I've spoke with and interviewed on my site, and just the average woman that's so brilliant, that's diving into her story. I think what we all have in common is that we're yearning for that life where we can feel more alive and more connected to one another and to ourselves, most importantly. And so it's that curiosity that I talk about in the book, having a curiosity on how do I create the life that I want to make happen, and really, taking that curiosity and pairing it with action so that we can actually do it. Because there's lots of dreamers in the world, but when you gain that wisdom, right, after you get curious, you can share that with so many people. And I think that's why what you're both doing is incredible. I'm so grateful and blessed about what I'm doing. And there's so many incredible women in the world making their lives happen at this moment. And I think that's the differentiator, is really the curiosity paired with action.
It's interesting that you bring up feeling more alive, because certainly even I, at times, don't feel quite alive. Sometimes I get into ruts. I know everybody gets into a rut at some times. And one of the things that I love while I was sleuthing around about you is that you had told Lux and Concord that your favorite quote is a Zen proverb, "Leap and the net will appear." Why is that your favorite quote?
Because I was at a time in my life, I think it was over 15 years ago, where I had 3 little children, and I've always been curious about the word surrender and what that meant to me. And why leap and the net will appear is my favorite quote, is because you have to have that trust in your life. And at that moment, I had 3 little children, and I wanted to leave my husband, and I was terrified. And I saw that quote one day, and I made a choice to trust the number one in my life, which is me, and trust my inner voice that told me that I would be more than taken care of if I trusted my inner voice. And I did it, and the net did appear in so many ways. So I would suggest that all women really get quiet and trust that inner voice, because it's always correct.
Kelly, go ahead, Kristin.
Well, I think you're absolutely right about that. Sometimes there's no there's no reward without some component of risk. And what I wanted to ask you is, I'm glad you brought up your children, because how do you teach truth telling to your kids? A lot of us as kids are conditioned to, be seen and not heard, maybe even tell white lies so that people don't feel bad about what we're saying. How do you teach truth-telling to your kids?
Yeah, be appropriate. Well, I would say the first thing I would do as a mom and a role model is to mirror that and model that behavior. I mean, when I'm in a space, I'm in a bad space, I need to be transparent. When my children are living with me and I'm like, Mom's in a bad space right now, and this is what that means, and this is what it's going to look like, because then you teach them how to do that. So I would say that's the first piece. And then to honor their feelings is so important, Kristin. A lot of times we don't want to put them in a little box or put them in a corner. Allow them to get curious and dive deep into when they're feeling something. Ask them some guiding questions into it, right? Ask them, why are you feeling that way? Have you thought about it? What does that trigger in you? So I really think it's just a mindset of allowing for children, to be human beings and to have their own feelings, and not shaming them or putting them into a box, and, role modeling that in your own life.
Well, it sounds like the answers that you're giving to instruct your children how to be honest, how to be truth tellers. As you were speaking, I was leafing through your book, and if you turn those tools into the first person, that's really what you're talking about in the book, right? Is just take those tools that you just mentioned and apply them to yourself, and then or turn around and apply them to your children. Yeah, there's a definite theme here. Embrace your power, make a powerful choice, embody limitless possibility. I asked you before why you started out with curiosity, and I just love the answer. Can you tell us why the first tool that you talk about?
I don't remember what I said to you, Judy, but I was like, well, what is that? Curiosity has always been my favorite thing. It's ever since, it's just having this childlike wonder, and I've always been a curious person about everything. Why are we here? Why is the world here, right? What am I supposed to be? I mean, all of us are curious by nature as children. And I really believe that that's where we all need to start. Because if you're always imposing your judgments or your belief systems on others, you can't connect with people that you don't agree with. And so how are we going to have, especially in this realm right now, where we are politically and in the world in general, conversation that's polite and clear and direct and that's productive, if we can't get curious about where the other person is coming from? So curiosity is from being a child all the way up to, political conversations or something where you felt like something was done wrong to you. You always have to get curious as to why the other person made a choice to do something. And my husband has taught me that as well. He's a very curious person. So it's kind of nice to be around that a lot.
Get curious and then get messy.
Yeah, dive in and get messy. Don't try to get it right.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you have to go, but this one question I actually have been dying to ask you for a long time. Why the word messy?
Everybody asks that because, if you ask any of my friends, I'm kind of a mess, in general. And so I realized, my brain is ADD, so I'm all over the place, right? If I have a mess in the house, I have to clean it up, like most women, right? I put it away. And, my husband thinks I'm kind of I allow myself to be messy in my life physically, but also in my mind. So I thought, well, that's not bad. I shamed myself for years about being messy. How about we allow ourselves to be who we are, get messy with it, dive into the places we don't like about ourselves, and find that brilliance in that. Find the beauty and the lessons and the wisdom that we can gain from getting dirty, right? dive in, dig in. When you eat and get messy. It's the same kind of way that I suggest women go into their lives instead of trying to always put it in a box.
And I imagine when they find the answers about themselves that it feels almost like a cleansing, no?
Yes, it does. It feels great. And then you could go to the next mess. It's like babies making a mess.
Because we're all hot messes. So,
it's a
Kelly,
journey.
let us know how your Messy Brilliance is everywhere, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all over the place. How can people get a hold of you on your website? Womenforone.com, go into the contact or log in and write their story?
Absolutely.
What do you want them to do?
Womenforone.com. You can click on it. You can go to Your Messy Brilliance, look at my book. We have lots of freebies so you can kind of really get familiar with Women for One before you share your story. We have 7-day challenges that are free, and then we have some courses online that will give you the support you need after you've shared your story, how to discover your voice and your power in your life.
Yeah, you have some great workshops and teachings for people. It's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. Good luck with your events.
Thank you, and thank you, Kristin, and thank you, Judy. I just adore both of you. Thanks for having me.
We feel the same about you. Thank you so much. Kristin.
Yes, we have Yi Zhou here with us.
Another breath of fresh air.
I know, right? She's a Chinese multimedia artist, influencer, and entrepreneur. She's widely known in the international creative community for her artistic, fashion, branding, and film work. Her work is admired by a highly diverse group of individuals, distinguished intellectuals, Hollywood A-listers, wealthy patrons, and the young social media audience. In 2010, she created Yi Zhou Studio, creating employment opportunities for young Chinese talent to work and experiment together on global projects. She's now based in Los Angeles, and she's currently working on several media projects and developing her first feature film. Welcome to the show, Yi.
Hello, everyone.
I'm so pleased to have you here. And it's always, I feel kind of lonely sometimes when I'm here because I'm usually here all by my lonesome and just talking to people. But it's so great to have you here.
Oh, Kristin.
Well, it's true. It's true. And it's funny because in the world of strange coincidences, Yi's actually sitting in the same seat that Steve Dorff sat in when he was here live with me. And you know Steve's son, right, Steven?
Yes, Steven Dorff, yes.
Wow. Well, that is great. So how did you get from, you were born in China, is that correct?
Yes.
So how did you get from China to this chair?
That's a good question. I went through many other chairs in between, but I was born in China and raised the first 7 years of my life in Hangzhou, which is a city near Shanghai, and imperial residence. And right now it's also one of the top cities in China in terms of business and wealth, and where also Alibaba is based. Mm-hmm. And I lived my teenage years in Europe between Rome and Paris. And I did also my studies in London and in Paris. And I started my career at very young age in Paris, thank God, to, I had the chance to be able to be promoted and to find people who were ready to showcase my artwork, which has always been multimedia, video, animation, sculpture, so combining different medium and all together. I never believed in one medium. Yeah, I never believed just doing like painting or sculpture. I thought, the world is converging more and more into multi-platform and multidimensional sources of communication and expression.
Wow. Well, I was interested because your degree is actually in political science and economics from the London School of Economics, and you're now continuing your education at Pepperdine, which is, just down the street here in Malibu. And why did you decide to get a degree in political science from the London School of Economics?
I just wanted to be in London and be able to, study something that I thought it was a little bit more challenging, and then just study drawing. I studied drawing when I was in high school in Italy in the afternoon. and then I just wanted to take on the challenge. And I really like London, the cosmopolitan aspect, compared to Rome, which is very classic and has that romantic aspect and looking, at everything from Caravaggio to Michelangelo. So I wanted to have a little bit of that cosmopolitan aspect.
It's fascinating because you truly are a global citizen. Your heritage, of course, is Chinese. You were raised part in Europe. You're also a passionate promoter of East-West relations. I think partly because you are a global citizen. What do you think the biggest block is in East-West relations? Because it's a lot of what our news is about today, and you've seen it all because you've lived in Asia and you've lived in Europe, and now you're calling Los Angeles your home.
I happen to be definitely promoting the dialogue between East and the West because I lived in those countries, and I happen to also, for instance, to participate to some events or festivals such as Sundance, where I was selected for 3 times. My first artworks were there in competition, and then when I moved to China, I had the chance to be able to be for a while the art director. It was an honorary title of the Chinese YouTube Truthtellers. So they had a film festival, and I thought it would be great to be able to bridge Sundance with them because they have the same approach in terms of indie, showing really true creative people.
It's interesting, and you've contributed to so many NGOs, non-governmental organizations. You've created art pieces for the UN Conference for World Climate Change, the UNDP China Rio 20 projection in 2012, World Oceans Day. So you're going to fit in right here because, I mean, people in California just love the ocean. We're ocean fanatics here because of the beautiful coastline. You've also recently worked with Natalia Vodianova's Naked Heart Foundation. Is there a cause that you haven't created an art piece for that you would like to champion?
I hope to discover more in the future, but I'm really happy about the causes I have worked with, and I hope to continue in the future to underline, my link and my participation to those causes.
It's amazing. I think when women lend their voices to causes and do it in different ways, I think there's an intersection, as we've seen with the Oscars, between art and advocacy, where sometimes when we're, at least in the American discourse right now, where we're at is, the buzzword fake news, alternative facts. Sometimes art has an ability to reach people where certain media does not. And I think it's really important what you're doing, especially with the UN and all of these different art installations, is to reach people from a really heart-centered space. Now, I'm glad you brought up your short films. Your films have been shown at the Shanghai Biennale, the Venice Biennale, Sundance, Cannes. You're currently working on several international media projects. You're also developing your first feature. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us about this feature. What can you tell us?
I think actually the feature film and the need to explore more my language and my research as an artist is the reason why I start to spend more time in LA, because it's the concentration of the entertainment and all the facilities. So I thought I need right now to be able to express my research in a longer length rather than just short of 5 minutes or 15 minutes. And so I started writing the script from China, and then I lost my inspiration when I was in China because I want to write a movie about China, and I felt that a little bit claustrophobic being there every day because it was so close to me that I couldn't close my eyes and imagine something fiction or inspired by reality. So I thought maybe removing myself from that reality, so from distance, maybe I could have a better inspiration to write. So right now I'm really happy to be finishing my research and my first feature film together with LA writers.
It's interesting. I think you bring up such a valid point, is that I love that you described it as claustrophobia, because I know as a screenwriter myself, sometimes you have to have a psychic distance from what you're trying to explore, because it's so close to you and so personal and so emotional that you can't really unpack some of the details because they're literally right in front of you. You almost have blinders to them. Judy, I'm just so astounded by even when she walked into the door. I'm sure your mind is buzzing with questions.
Yeah, my new hashtag is Women Beyond.
Right, exactly.
Because she is beyond unreal. I just admire everything that you're about, and like Kristin said, how you have such an international flair. I was completely obsessed by some of your YouTube videos and your TEDx talks. And I'm just wondering if we could get a little bit more into what you were saying about soulful data and the data that we retrieve or that we react to, reflecting emotion and combining it with soul. And you know, I feel like, you know, you went to the School of Economics, right? Mm-hmm. And data is such an analytical word. For me, it's such a, I don't know what the word is, but it's such a hard topic. It's almost like a table, right? Data. And then you combine that in the same sentence, the same phrase with soulful, and you infuse that into your work. Can you go into a little more about that?
Sure. I already forgot about that talk. That was a few years ago, but I'm so glad you found it again. And it's actually very important and dear to me, my research at the moment, because I think my movie explores actually this boundary between fiction, science, and our emotions.
Well, you did seem so passionate when you spoke about it.
Yes, because I really like the topic, and it's actually one of the topics that TEDx organizer picked, and I thought it really speaks to my research as an artist, but actually is now very up to date to my research as a filmmaker, as first-time filmmaker. And so I'm really happy that you raised that, because I feel that it's always challenging for us to know how we can create something using data, and at the same time, to be able to extract the emotion from an emotional standpoint. And that's something that I think also mentions about all the other technology developments such as VR, AI, etc. So I think it's a very up-to-date topic, and
it is the future, VR and AI. Is there something in VR or AI that you think could be used to empower women more, since you deal with that emerging technology, and you're a large voice in the empowering women space?
I did an artwork a year and a half ago for an exhibition in Italy, and I used VR technology, and I thought it was really interesting because I could recreate completely the space, but I also did poem in the virtual space, mm-hmm. and I recorded my body in a 360-degree studio in LA, and I thought it was really interesting to be able to be present there, but captured through data my whole body and my whole movements, and then situated in a completely real context. I thought it was once in a lifetime experience I will always remember.
I'm curious about the process of extracting this expression from something that is so technical. Is there anything that any process you follow or something that you go through to kind of wean that out of something that I feel like is so opposite of soulful? We have the tech world, and then we have, expression, and to bring those two together, that it just seems to me, I'm not a filmmaker. I can be creative at times, but to me, there's just two different worlds. You like combining completely different, like I know at one point you combined 3D animation and marble for a sculpture that you did, and it's just fascinating to me. So I guess I'm just trying to get into your mind and figure out how you see this process.
I actually have taken on to a larger extent this challenge by challenging a different area of my brain. So I try to now venture actually into more the data world, and therefore starting more my own investment company, and also extending my company Yi Zhou Studio with other businesses such as partners and joint ventures with luxury brands or media companies. And we also do develop also a music app, and I'm also an investor for it, and also launching a lifestyle brand with new products, fashion and lifestyle, which is called Global Intuition. So I try to bring together my creativity and translate this creative vision into innovative business at this stage of my life, and to see every day how I can switch left brain and right brain. That's an exciting exercise to me.
Yeah, is there anything you can't do?
I was about to ask her the same thing. May I ask, are you left-handed or are you right-handed?
I can write in both hands, with both hands.
Oh my God, I'm in love with you.
Thank you.
I'm left-handed, if you haven't noticed, because I'm scribbling notes over here. But yeah, is there anything that you don't do?
I think I cannot sing, and that's something I've always wanted to do, and it's pity I don't have the musical sort of talent. I have a musical ear, and I've collaborated with many musicians, from Pharrell to Ennio Morricone, who wrote 6 short pieces for my animated works and videos. But so that's the only way that I feel I can be close to the music world. But it's a dream that maybe in a different life will come true.
So you should create an app that teaches people how to sing.
That's a great idea.
There you go. Well, we have these conversations on what women want, and Judy can attest to this, that sometimes women create and innovate out of their issues or their obstacles. And I wanted to ask you, we're trying to make the case here that you're Wonder Woman.
Thank you.
You're just making it very easy for us. What do you do for fun?
I personally love what I do, so I don't feel I'm working. So and all the people I like, I try to do a project with them. So that's how I have always built, since I was a kid, my lifestyle and people around me.
Well, I love that. I'm sure, Judy, you love that, don't you?
Yeah, they say that you should build a life that you don't need a vacation from.
Yes. I never go on vacation because I feel permanently on vacation. It's a mind state.
Now, recently you've moved here, and you and I were talking about that before the show, and so far it's been a good fit. So why did you choose to come to Los Angeles? You could have gone anywhere.
I thought because I want to do more film projects, and here all the facilities are here, all the actors and agencies, so it's for just conveniency, to be closer to the industry. And in China, everything's a little bit more dispersed, and although it's a booming industry, and I'm really happy to be part of it and witness this transition. I actually have given awards in the last few days during the Oscar night for a special China night, awards to people who contributed to Chinese and the U.S. Film industry with this new award. So I thought it was great to be able right now to be in LA to witness this continuous and growing dialogue between the East and the West, and to be able to hopefully create more synergy and more creative pieces in terms of cinema that can represent and mirror this energy between the two countries.
And of course the sun and the palm trees.
Yes.
I mean, come on. Yeah, I'm curious now. So I'm sure you've met a lot of creative, entrepreneurial, intellectual people along the way, celebrities and such. But if you could meet anyone that you haven't yet met, who would that be?
I think I would like to create that person, maybe in VR or AI.
Okay, now
oh my gosh, talk about soulful data.
Well, now I know she's a director because she's trying to control reality over here. But I wanted to ask you because you've worked in China with the Chinese film industry. You're now in the U.S. working here in the United States, and one of the things that's come up, and we've talked about Me Too and Time's Up, is that entertainment is particularly a male-dominated profession, and particularly animation can be often not just male-dominated, but a super majority of people working in animation-related fields have been male and continue to be male. Has that impacted you at all in your career, either in China or now here?
I have to say, luckily, I have not been affected because I have always been able to have a great team or people who support what my vision, and to be able to tag along and create these projects all together. And I look forward to discovering more in LA about the industry, and every day, I learn something more. So I'm really excited about it.
And you can speak to anyone who comes by. You speak 6 languages or something like that?
I speak 5.
5, close enough.
That's amazing. Well, I think it's a testament to you that you've been able to work in several countries and make things that are not necessarily bound by language either. Sometimes that divides us as well, is that languages can keep us from learning about another culture. Is there a topic in your animation that you haven't had the opportunity to explore yet that you'd like to explore?
Yeah, the reason why I started to write my feature film is actually to be able to explore in a longer version and more in depth about this boundary between reality and imagination and soulful data.
I'm just, when you say soulful data, Judy, this is where my mind goes, because it's a fascinating idea. I think of little pieces of data playing soul music.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you take an Excel sheet and then a body of music or something and put it together. It's so hard to conceptualize, and she's actually doing it
right.
with her art and her education. So very impressive, E.
Thank you so much.
Now, so many of our women that listen to this show, and our men too, they are not necessarily in the entertainment business, but they are entrepreneurs, and they are investors or in the tech business. What advice would you give to someone who is a new entrepreneur or new to venture capital or the tech industry or any of that, since you've been so successful at it?
I must say that I'm still at the beginning of this journey, and I'm still new as an entrepreneur, and it just thanks to my dad, actually, who encouraged me to a little bit go into this direction. And so I would like to say, just be creative and don't follow precedents or don't follow paths that other people have created, but try to create your own path.
I love that. And I love that your dad steered you in that direction. That's wonderful. Now, I know that our audience, the minute you walked in the door, you had your cell phone ready. You were ready to document this experience. You're truly the social media maven. You have a huge YouTube following as well. How can people connect with you after the broadcast on social media and online?
I think you can follow, my Facebook, Yi Zhou Official, Instagram, and the Twitter. Yes, and that are called Yi Zhou Official. Yes.
Well, folks, you're going to have to do that because E over here is moving quickly and she's moving boldly. And I'm certainly happy to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be, warming the seats together tonight with you.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's a wonderful seat that you're in. Judy, we have Monica Shaw on next week, don't we?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a nor'easter, but whatever. So, yep, next week. Thank you, E. It was great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And for all the rest of you, yes, next week we have Monica Shaw founder of Revenue Breakthrough. She will be talking about those subconscious money blocks, which sometimes go back even further than we know. So fascinating conversation once again here on What Women Want. Happy International Women's Day. We're off to a great start here, and we're so happy. And remember to subscribe to us on YouTube, our new YouTube channel. Don't miss even one show. Go to whatwomenwantradio.com for more, and we'll see you next week. Good night.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss and Kristin West, only on LA Talk Radio.